Hello, everyone. My name is Ian Weaver, and I used to be the head of Gaming Wildlife. So, it's been about 4 years, and yeah, Gaming Wildlife hasn't posted anything in a long time. I've actually gotten messages over the years of people asking me, so what happened? Where did Gaming Wildlife go? How come you guys dropped off the face of the earth all of a sudden in 2018? And I've got a new project here that I'm doing, and so I thought now would be the appropriate time to kind of come back and tell you what happened. This video is not going to be scripted, so there's going to be a lot of stop and start, and I thought I may as well just come out and say it. So, the short version, the TLDR, if people don't want to sit through the whole video, is Gaming Wildlife fell apart internally. It had nothing to do with the audience or YouTube ad pop. What was it? YouTube adpocalypse? Was that the one? I think that's what people called it. Uh, Sorry if the microphone is a little iffy. I don't have a thing to hang it, so I'm just holding on to it. But yeah, it had nothing to do with the audience or anything. It's just we fell apart internally. There was a big push and pull over who had power, where did that power belong, that sort of thing. And when we tried to make an LLC, people got really hostile. People got really toxic. The environment for making videos became very difficult to manage. And because of that, I couldn't continue. Like, you've heard a lot of YouTubers say this, but I've dealt with depression a lot in my life, and because the environment was so toxic, I just had to walk away from the project. Unfortunately, because of that, it got sold to a third party. I tried to work with a third party to make some new content. You may have noticed in late 2017, 100% Honest started popping up once again. But then some other issues started happening, and I couldn't figure out a way to make it work with the third party. And ultimately, Gaming Wildlife fell apart. I was fired from the LLC in June of 2018. And so, yeah, it's been almost 4 years since Gaming Wildlife no longer existed. So, how did we get to that point? If you want to stick around and hear about that. Gaming Wildlife started, we were a bunch of film students at the University of Kansas. We're all from the Midwest. The University of Kansas is a school that's near Kansas City. If you need like a relevant location, and it started coming together in, I would say, 2011. We were watching, I especially was watching people like Loading Ready Run, Zero Punctuation, Epic Mealtime, Red versus Blue, a lot of stuff like that. And I was realizing that this was the future of content online, was web series. And I want to say Netflix had probably just barely started doing their streaming platform, but it was just like online content being independently made and distributed amongst people. It's like this is the future. I had been told when I first got into film school that you can't make money off of feature films. Like I went to film school because I'm like, I want to make movies. And I had been told almost immediately you can't make money off of feature films. If you're willing to do gay and lesbian movies, Christian films, or horror films, those are the only movies that make money. Everything else is just a giant money sink. You can't just make a drama. You can't just make a comedy. Like, you'll waste money off of doing stuff like that. And so it was just like, well, then what is the future of doing film? After going to college, I was just like, oh, it's online content. Sweet. So got together a group of friends, and we had talked about doing a web series. one of the things that I've always been into is video games, and video game like comedy is for the most part fairly easy to do because it's just like try and apply regular logic to video games and it kind of writes itself. I kind of wanted to take it to the next level because I really liked studying sociology and psychology as well as film. So I'm like, okay, gamer culture is this weird thing. Like it kind of exists, but kind of doesn't. Like it's got its own weird eccentricities. What if we did an entire web series that just talked about gamer culture, but sort of did it through the eyes of, say, this like David Attenborough meets Steve Irwin kind of guy? And that's what I wanted to do. It's like, okay, we'll call it Gaming Wildlife. It'll be like a wildlife reserve that studies gamers like you would study animals. And maybe that idea is a little regressive now. I don't know. But at the time, it's like 2011. We're like, this is a funny idea. What if we can make an entire show about this? And so we started putting together ideas, and it started to be filmed in summer of 2012 after we graduated. Graduated college in 2012, and yeah, just started putting it together. We were filming it with some people. We had some friends helping us out, and over the next 3 years, it basically just started to grow. You would see stuff like short form sketches that we would do. We would do foundation episodes, and then of course we would do 100% Honest, which didn't originally start as 100% Honest. It was the Electronic Arts PSA, which didn't really click with people, and so I changed it to If Electronic Arts Were 100% Honest with Us, and then it started getting posted to other websites, and then it hit a few thousand views, 30,000 views, 300,000 views, a million views. It started to grow, and it honestly, the how Gaming Wildlife grew is not really that interesting. We just got some really lucky breaks. We wrote some clever stuff, and it started to go viral the way that things went viral back in 2013, 2014. This all started to fall apart when in late 2015 we decided to make an LLC because we wanted to actually grow this as a business. We wanted to be able to build a studio. And at the time, I was working with a couple of business partners. I'm not going to name names in this video. You're not going to hear anyone's name because it's been 4 years, and honestly, I think they all just want to move on with their lives. And I wanted to come back and do YouTube content again. So I thought it would be a good idea to address what happened with Gaming Wildlife first, but you will not hear their names here. And so at the time, I had a couple of business partners. And when I talked about forming an LLC, because the web series had started to make some money, it would be nice to have an LLC to put the money into, and then we can send it out to other people. It's like for tax purposes, it would be easier to do that, to be like, okay, here's the LLC, and then we pay this person for what they did, this person for what they did. We take our paycheck, yada, yada, that sort of thing. Gaming Wildlife never made a lot of money. We never did. We all had day jobs that we would still go to. I was a pizza delivery driver for like 9 years. Yeah. Destroyed 3 of my cars in the process. Yeah, delivery driving will absolutely wreck your vehicle, just FYI. And so when we were forming the LLC, I had a couple of business partners. We had this idea, okay, we're going to split it evenly. It's going to be me and partner number 1 are going to be the main people, the heads of the LLC. We're going to be in charge of the LLC. We're then going to give like small portions of shares, essentially, like a percentage of the LLC ownership, to other people who have helped us out. At the time, we had about 8 or 9 people helping us build this web series. And it had mostly been free work because we all came from film school. We all came from acting backgrounds. And you kind of I, I mean, I hate to say it, but you kind of have to do a lot of free work to be able to make it in that industry. And so we wanted to try and give back to the people who had helped us out so far. So that was the original plan, to break it down with, okay, me and partner number 1, we're going to be the head of the organization. We were going to share responsibilities for that and then give pieces to all the other people. My other business partner had convinced me, no, no, no. If you're going to do an LLC, I need to have a fair share because I had been helping you out with a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, okay. At the time, I was like, well, we want to be able to get it to this point. And they were just like, sure, sure, we can get it to that point. But as we're trying to grow the LLC and the business side of things, I need a fair share. And so it was going to be evenly split between myself, business partner number 1, and business partner number 2. And we were going to split it evenly. We had, like, the web series had been working rather functionally for about 3 years, and I thought I could trust these people because I had known them for a long time. I had known them through film school. I had known them through outside things. I had known them for a while. And I guess the problem is I'm a bit too trusting. And so I was just like, okay, maybe I can be in charge, and then you guys are my employees, and then everyone else can do their own thing. And they were just like, no, 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 we need to be willing to split this evenly, and they eventually convinced me to do that. This was obviously a bad idea, and a lot of you are probably thinking, "No, that's a terrible idea. You shouldn't do that." And that was the problem, is that I trusted these people. I thought that this would work. I thought that, okay, we are eventually going to get to the point where me and person A, in charge of the thing, split it evenly amongst a bunch of other people, give them some power since they helped us out. And as the web series grows, we get to 1 million subscribers. We possibly get to 10 million subscribers. Like, I was thinking we could make Gaming Wildlife into, like, the next Rooster Teeth, and just grow it and do more content that way. But first stop, let's make the LLC 3 business partners, equal share, and then from here we're just going to keep making content. And it was almost immediate that everything started to fall apart after that. One of the first things that they did was that as soon as I gave up my power within the LLC, they said, great. Oh, by the way, there's this person we've been working with for a long time. We don't want to work with them anymore. And I'm just like, well, hang on. This person's really important. They help me with a lot of scripting. They help put together the show, the, organizational stuff. They're very important. And apparently they had been harboring a grudge against this person for a while, and they didn't really know how to tell me. It felt like a stab in the back. It's just like, well, this is a team. This is a group of people. And look, maybe I was naive. Maybe I was naive to think that I could, like, build a group of people to work together, because we were all very everyone was a type A personality. These were a bunch of clashing, powerful personalities, and apparently there had just been a bunch of grudges held behind the scenes that I wasn't informed of. Now, I was told by these people, we tried to talk to you about this a couple of years ago, but you wouldn't listen. And so it's like, I don't remember that. I don't remember you coming to me and telling me that. I'm wondering if maybe this is a little bit of gaslighting. I didn't know what the term was at the time. Now I'm thinking maybe it was kind of gaslighting. But they basically said, we're not willing to work with this person anymore. And I was just like, this is why are you doing this now? Why are you well, they're doing this now because they wanted power. And so the next year and a half, I might sort of breeze through this part a little bit, but the next year and a half was just hell, because it felt like all I was doing was trying to fight fires, trying to be the middleman, trying to find ways to get these clashing personalities to work together. Because now they're like, we don't want to work with this person, we don't want to work with that person. Now it's starting to become toxic in the behind the scenes environment, because one of my business partners would just explode randomly. They would just be like get mad at the slightest drop, and I didn't know who I would be seeing when I went into work that week. It's just like, who's going to be here? Is it going to be the person who's just like, oh, hey, what's up? Got some footage, cool, and then that's it? Or are they going to explode over the slightest provocation? I remember there was a day where we were trying to like branch out and work with some people out in LA. And one of them had filmed an episode for us, a 100% honest, and we're like, cool, let's do this. And we had sent them a bunch of directions. We had sent them the script. It was literally the night before we were going to post the episode, because we were still trying to do like one episode a week, every week, no matter what. And the footage they sent us was terrible. They didn't take any of our directions. They changed a lot of the script, and it was awful. And my business partner exploded, was yelling, screaming, cursing, literally left and just drove off. And me and my other partner was like, well, what are we going to do now? I don't remember what we ended up doing. We ended up putting together some new video or something, but that was the environment, that it was just getting difficult and toxic, and it was just awful. And I'm like, God, I picked these people. These are the people that I'm going to work on this web series with. Like, there was times in which like we would get other actors into, we had like this little makeshift studio that we had rented in this like house. We would get people into the studio, and my business partners would just badmouth me left and right. Would just be like, I would be like, oh yeah, we're wanting to build this web series up and make it into a proper studio, and they would just be like, yeah, like that's gonna happen. It's just like, you don't say that in front of a professional. You don't say that in front of a brand new person. Like, we want to rib each other behind the scenes, sure, but you don't act that way in front of another professional person. And it had gotten so hard to work with these people. Like, one of them always deflected. Anything that went wrong, it was never their fault. And the other one would just explode at a random interval. And I had started to, like, my depression had started to get really bad. I had always sort of used the web series, and this probably isn't healthy, but I used it as like a coping mechanism to sort of keep myself busy. And it had been 3 of the best years of my life, building this from nothing to something, being able to go, look, like, we just did this. We borrowed some equipment from the university and shot some stuff. We like got some really cheap cameras and a really cheap microphone and recorded some things. Like, you don't need a lot of money to be able to make a web series work. You just need like some clever ideas, and you need to be able to execute them. And we had gotten to that point, but now it was just like everything behind the scenes was just falling apart. And I remember very specifically the day that I knew this web series was dead. We had scheduled a meeting between a bunch of our people to help us write the From Software 100% Honest episode. It's like, okay, we're going to do this episode. It's going to come together and it's going to be good. I scheduled a meeting with a bunch of people, and the day of, everyone canceled. Except for my 2 business partners. And the 2 business partners said, well, forget it. We'll just do it ourselves. I think this was like March 2016, and I knew everything had fallen apart. I knew that this web series was no more. It had been destroyed internally by these people, by this toxic environment we had made. Like, whenever I would have to figure out like some sort of a big business meeting, or whenever I would just have to deal with these people, I would actually like take a couple of shots of alcohol to calm my nerves. Like, I was finding other coping mechanisms to deal with this, and I just like, and we had gotten over 200,000 subscribers at this point. We had gotten like, we had even gotten the YouTube plaque. Hang on, right here. There it is. Gaming Wildlife. I had one for me, and there were others for other people. Like, it felt like we had made it. And this was just okay, we have to figure out a way around this. We have to figure out a way to deal with this, because we've made it. We've done it. We've made the web series. It works. And it just got too tough to handle. Even with sponsors every so often, even with other people. By the beginning of 2017, I was having panic attacks. I was like, it had pushed me too far. This web series had pushed me too far. I had to walk off. I didn't want to, but it was too difficult to manage. The problem with depression sometimes is that you can get into a self-destructive mode if you're not careful, where you basically just say, I don't care about anything anymore. I'm in pain constantly and I want to stop this pain, and I will remove everything from my life to stop the pain from happening. And so the web series had already started to fall by the wayside, and we had all noticed it. We were all just like, look, this thing isn't working the way it used to. Like 2016 financially was a huge year. Uh, like I think the most I ever made off of the web series was like 1,500 in a month, and that's just what I took. And it's like, that's a good amount. You can't live off of that though. Like on average, we were making several hundred a month per person. And it was just like, I can't make this work for me. I can't continue to like kill my mental health doing this web series. And so in 2017, I went to my business partners and I said, look, you two, this isn't working. Like, people aren't willing to work with us anymore. People are like, we're creating this awful environment. I want us to break off. I want us to split the web series and be like, you do your own channel, you do your own channel, I'm going to do my own channel, and we're going to go our separate ways and keep doing our own thing. But just this is too difficult to work with. And they said, no, we're going to continue the web series. If you want to leave, you can. I don't like being the bad guy. I don't like being mean. And maybe that was the problem. Maybe I was too nice. Maybe I was like too willing to just bend over and take this. And so it had gotten so much to the point where I had been just completely internally self-destructive. And I'm like, you know what? Fine. I'm done. Okay. I literally said to one of them, I don't ever want to see you ever again. I don't want to work with you ever again. I don't want to deal with you ever again. You are too difficult. You're too toxic. I can't. Like, that wasn't my exact words, but I'm paraphrasing a bit. But I couldn't handle it. And so I walked off the project. I still had, a third of the web series. I still had it. It was still mine. But I walked off the project. And this is why in 2017 you started to see a bunch of new stuff show up on Gaming Wildlife. It's because I was no longer in control, and I was no longer helping creatively. I was just like, I was stressed the hell out. 2016 and 2017 were just awful, awful years for me. They appear to be awful years for other people for other reasons, but yeah, especially just for me at the time, it was a bad, bad time for me. Later in the year, I was told that the web series was going to be sold to a third party. Specifically, they were going to buy me out. And like I said, self-destructive mode. I'm still like burned out from all of this, that I was just like, fine, whatever. And so a third party was contacted. I was told they're going to offer this much and you're going to be bought out completely. Okay. I went to the meeting and I was told they're going to buy me out for this much. I was also told that I didn't really have a choice. And this is one of the issues about me never really coming out and talking about this, because I do worry that my other business partners, who I've not named, but I'm worried that they're going to come out and be like, well, that's not true. And I wasn't given a choice. They can show you a contract, they can show you a signature, and they can say in signed this willingly. Fine. Fine. I was a bit self-destructive, and I was just like, I'm in such a bad shape mentally that I gave up. I gave up. I wish I hadn't. It's the biggest regret I've ever had. And so I was just like, fine, whatever. Signed it. Done. It's over. It wasn't. Because apparently one of my business partners had left town. Literally left town, and they couldn't get in contact with them. I don't know where this person is now. I had heard they had moved to another state. They're somewhere else doing their own thing. Whatever. I hope they're whatever. And so the third party contacted me and said, "Look, we're willing to work with you. Are you interested in coming back? We will pay you to do more episodes." And I'm like, "Oh, so like, do I have to work with anyone else?" No, completely independent. I'm like, okay. It seemed like a really good idea. It was like, okay, I get to work independently. I get to keep doing 100% honest, and I get to like, I get to be in control. Great, I'll do it. And so I started doing 100% honest again. You may have noticed there were certain videos that popped up in late 2017. And yeah, those were me. I'd worked with some outside help. I had worked with people I knew in my town. I'd worked with my dad. And we made some new episodes, and they were received really well. They were getting 100,000 views, 200,000 views, 400,000 views. Awesome. And I was just like, okay, starting to kind of get my groove back. At the same time, they had also been in contact with my other business partners and said sort of the same thing. Do you want to come back and make episodes independently? One of my business partners started doing their own show. It was their own thing. It was a bit different than what Gaming Wildlife had done, but it was their own thing. And apparently they had tried to contact and say, I want to be a part of 100% Honest. Now, I was doing 100% Honest independently. And so I just like, this person, it's like they had made this environment so toxic and so difficult to work with that I was just like, no, I don't want to work with you. And so I just kept doing 100% Honest. So, okay, this is the hard one. So they decided to make their own video. They filmed a... Hang on. They filmed a landscape that they had made with a bunch of like plastic figurines, and they had created a figurine of Charles, the character I played on the Foundation series. We hadn't done Foundation in a while because my business partners were just like, it takes too long to film Foundation. It's not getting the views 100% Honest does. And they had created the landscape, and they had created a little figurine of Charles. They doused the entire thing in kerosene and lit it on fire with a at the very end they had a title at the top that said "Fuck you, Ian." So I wanted to make sure that I got this right. Quick aside, my grandfather, Doug Weaver, wonderful man. I love my grandfather very much. He used to be a football coach back in the 60s and 70s, eventually becoming a athletic director at Michigan State in the 80s. In the mid-60s, he was a coach for Kansas State, University of Kansas State, out in Manhattan, Kansas. And during his final season, he had kind of a bad season, mostly losses. And so when he was fired from Kansas State, they actually hanged him in effigy, which he is quoted. There's a Sports Illustrated article that quotes him saying, "I'm glad it happened in front of the library. I've always emphasized scholarship." My grandfather has a wonderful sense of humor and is an amazing man, still alive. Um, he yeah, they hanged him in effigy outside the library at Kansas State, and that is something that he and I have in common. So that's a check off the bucket list. Have He was hanged in effigy, and I was burned in effigy. That video was posted to the channel, to the YouTube channel. Uh, it wasn't up for very long, but it was posted. That scared me. I don't know if I've ever actually been that scared in my entire life. That I was able to push someone, I was able to make them so mad that they created a little statue of me and burned it and posted it to the web series. Sorry. It's like I haven't posted anything in the last 4 years for a lot of reasons. A big one is fear. I'm afraid of retaliation, of people basically coming out and trying to badmouth my name. I just want to make content again. So my other business partner and I were like, okay, well they're fired, obviously. So what we did is we got some paperwork together, like got some official like legal paperwork together, and it's like, okay, we're gonna go through the official channels and do this. We sent them a pink slip basically saying, yes, you've been fired. Um, Effective immediately. Your shares are going to be redistributed to uh, us and the third party. And we were just like, okay, we're gonna they're out. We're gonna continue this web series. We're gonna try and continue to build it ourselves. And we find out that they had sold all their shares to the third party. But I had reached my breaking point. I was done. Like I I had gone so self-destructive that I was finished. Okay. Depression had hit too hard. We had created a toxic environment for the last year and a half, well, really 2 years at that point. All I had had to deal with was just difficult people from within, and I finally just said, I'm done. I can't handle this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And I wish I had fought for it more. I wish I had. I didn't. The third party basically contacted us and said, okay, we have majority control now, so we're going to say we're sending you a new contract. If you sign this contract, they claimed if you sign this contract, we can't fire you, but the contract had stated that the third party had full creative control over Gaming Wildlife and that anything that we did would have to go through them. And I said no. A few months later, I was fired from the LLC. And that's it. That was it. My other business partner had apparently signed the contract behind my back. They said they weren't going to, but apparently they signed it. But then also apparently they walked off set after dealing with the third party. And so that was Gaming Wildlife. I don't know if there's anyone who still works on the old channel. I think one person might, maybe not. I mean, it's been 4 years, who knows? But none of the original members are still part of Gaming Wildlife. It's now owned by a third party, so if you view the videos on there, they get the ad revenue. I can tell you it wasn't much. Like, I told you a little bit of like what we made in like 2015 maybe, but in general The web series never made a lot, but it was something that I liked doing. I liked being a part of YouTube. I liked having an audience. I liked being like I liked using my skills in a way that seemed to work. And my biggest regret, obviously, I regret a lot of things. Excuse me, with Gaming Wildlife, but my biggest regret was I never told the audience what happened. I never came out and said, "Here's what really happened." I think because of fear. And so with this new project, this is Geeks Welcome. This channel is a new project that a couple of friends have come together to help me build. Um, with this new project, I'm hoping to sort of get back into it, to try and find the old fans of Gaming Wildlife, trying to get back into the YouTube community. I want to do this again. I liked doing this. This felt like this was maybe not natural, but this was very like the kind of thing that I enjoy doing, that I'm like being a part of. And so, hello again. My name is Ian Weaver, and I was the head of Gaming Wildlife, and now I am here on this channel, Geeks Welcome. And for all of you who followed Gaming Wildlife over the years, who helped get us to 200,000 subscribers, thank you. I'm looking forward to getting the audience back. I'm looking forward to finding a new audience to follow us on this channel. And just for those of you who stuck around for all those years, I cannot thank you enough. Gaming Wildlife was some of the best and some of the worst, but mostly the best years of my life. And so, from the bottom of my heart, honestly, truly, thank you. And if you want to stick around and see what kind of stuff we do on this channel on Geeks Welcome, we absolutely would love to have you. Thank you.